Jaya Radha Madhavan Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhavan Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhavan Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privajakacharya Astota Tatashri Srimad Nitya Lila Pravishnam His Divine Grace Shilabhai Charan Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Iskan VBD Founder Acharya Jagaguru Bhadita Bhavana Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Yugadharma Hari Ram and Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharadne. Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatane. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11. Svayambhu Vamana advises Dhruva Maharaj. Today, text number 2. Sandhiyamane. I'm reading the word, okay. Sandhiyamana. Etasmin. Maya. Guyaka. Nirmita, Shipram, Vinishur, Vidura, Klesha, Janodaye, Yata, Sandhiyamana Etasmin, Maya Guyaka Nirmitaha, Shipram Vinasur Vidura, Klesha Gyanodayayata Sandhiyamana Etasmin Maya Guyaka Nirmita Shipram Vinashavidura Klesha Janodayayata Sandhiyamana Etasmin Maya Guyaka Nirmitaha Shipram Vinashavidura Klesha Janodayayata
Sandhiyamana etasmin Maya Guhyaka Nirmitaha Shipram Vineshur Vidura Klesha Gyanodayayata
Sandiyamane, while joining to his bow. Etas mean this. Narayanastra, Narayanastra. Maya, the illusions. Guyak and Nirmitaha, created by the Yakshas. Shipram, very soon. Vinishu, were destroyed. Vidura, O Vidura. Klesha, illusory pains and pleasures. Jnana Udaye, upon the arising of knowledge. Yata, just as. As soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayan Astra arrow to his bow, the illusion created by the Yakshas was immediately vanquished. Just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is like the sun, and Maya, or the illusory energy of Krishna, is like darkness. Darkness means absence of light. Similarly, Maya means absence of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness and Maya are always there, side by side. As soon as there is awakening of Krishna consciousness, all the illusory pains and pleasures of material existence are vanquished. Mayam itam taranti te. Constant chanting of the Maha Mantra will keep us always aloof from the illusory energy of Maya. It seems to be kind of like a feedback, you know. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupaganamayam Dadati Svabanandigam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutabadagamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raganatan Vidam Dam Sajivam Sadvedam Savadudam Marijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishagavidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatirubhyascha Kripasandubhyevacha Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Dibyadbindaranya Kalpajamada, Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasdo, Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo, Prestalabi Savyamano Smarambi. Sandiyamana Etasmin Maya Guyaka Nirmitaha, Shipram Vinasa Vidura, Klesha Janodayayata. As soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayan Astra arrow to his bow, the illusion created by the Yakshas was immediately vanquished, just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self. Very nice verses recently about the importance and potency of the holy name of the Lord. Concluding verse of the last chapter. All the sages who came to offer auspicious encouragement to Dhruva Maharaj after he was temporarily bewildered, even overwhelmed by the illusory mystic tricks of the demons. immediately assembled to offer him auspicious encouragement. And of course, those mystic tricks seemed very, very real and frightening. While Dhruva Maharaj, doubtful of his mystic enemies, was talking with his charioteer, they heard a tremendous sound, as if the whole ocean were there, and they found that from the sky a great dust storm was coming over them from all directions. The sky was overcast with dense clouds. Severe thundering was heard, glittering electric lightning, severe rainfall. In that rainfall there was blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow falling heavily. Can you imagine? Try to imagine that. So far, so good. This is hurricane season, but it's been classic in the month of September that we get like the heaviest rains here in New York City. I think it was like 2 years ago. Remember that bucket brigade we had out here because the whole thing was completely clogged and the water had completely, like the Titanic, flown into the temple room, and the whole, like half of the temple room was just flooded because of this huge amount of water, for example. So imagine, of course we don't want to imagine Radha Govinda's temple room, but let's not even think that, but like the whole New York City, blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow. Trunks of bodies falling from the sky. And from all directions, hailstones fell along with lances, clubs, swords, iron bludgeons, and great pieces of stone. Big serpents with angry eyes, vomiting forth fire and coming to devour him, all along with groups of mad elephants, lions, and tigers. Then, as if it were the time of the dissolution of the whole world, the fierce sea with foaming waves and great roaring sounds came forward before him. Similarly, in regards to the demoniac and mystic power of Hiranyaksha, described that groups on horseback of naked ruffian demons and demonesses with their hair hanging loose, uttering cruel and savage slogans, such as kill him, pierce him, chop him up. The demon yakshashas were by nature very heinous, and by their demoniac power of illusion, they can create many strange phenomena to frighten one who is less intelligent. When the great sages heard that Dhruva Maharaj was overwhelmed by the illusory mystic tricks of the demons, they immediately assembled to offer him auspicious encouragement. Just like Arjuna was seemingly bewildered just prior to the battle of Kurukshetra, but that bewilderment was for a very great reason, and it was by the purposeful hand of Krishna, of course, the main reason, so that the Bhagavad Gita can be spoken for the benefit of all, in all times, in all circumstances. Arjuna himself said, I'm again attracted to those instructions imparted to me in the great intimacy of friendship, which can relieve the burning heart in all times, places, and circumstances. Maharaj Parikshit, Arjuna's grandson, was similarly put into a compromised situation because of seemingly becoming angry at a sage, Samika Rishi, for not supplying him proper reception and offering him water when he was thirsty and asked for it. So ultimately, by being unjustly cursed by the Rishi's son, Shringi, to die within 7 days, the great literary incarnation of Krishna. And as the sages at Naimisharanya understood, where will religious principles go for shelter in this terrible, dense, dark age of Kali which is upon us? The answer, of course, is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just previously, in the verses we were looking at in the last chapter, that the fighting of the Yakshas seemed to cover him completely. Dhruva Maharaj was completely covered by an incessant shower of weapons, just as a mountain is covered by incessant rainfall. And is pointed out by the great, insightful champion of ultimate explanation and purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, points out in this connection that although Dhruva Maharaj was covered by the incessant arrows of the enemy, this does not mean that he succumbed in the battle. So the seeming setback, or what one who is less intelligent, spiritually less intelligent, might ascertain to be the defeat or failure of the devotee, doesn't understand the ultimate situation of the devotee in his reciprocation with the Lord. The example of a mountain's peak being covered by incessant rain is just suitable. For when a mountain is covered by incessant rain, all dirty things are washed from the body of the mountain. Similarly, the incessant shower of arrows from the enemy gave Dhruva Maharaj new vigor to defeat them. In other words, whatever incompetency he might have had was washed away. Perhaps the greatest battle that Srila Prabhupada underwent was one of the last ones in the most heinous New York brainwashing case, which was declared in 1976 and ultimately won in March of the following year, 1977, ultimately defeating the demoniac and atheistic idea that devotion to God is a type of illusion and a type of brainwashing, a type of hallucination, and that to take people away, offering people the chance to understand their original natural identity and relationship to the Supreme Lord as one of surrendered devotion is a very great harm that can be done to persons, especially young people. The demons are always against anything that has semblance of surrender to the Supreme Lord and devotion to Him, and are always alert to try to curtail, stop it at the onset, as in the case of Kamsa, trying to kill Krishna even before he's even allowed to practically take birth. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has written an amazing essay simply called Putana, describing how the mundane educational system that bewilders people in their youth to think that there is no God, and that the real proper explanation for what we see is based on mundane empirical science. We can understand by that how our Srila Prabhupada, learning from his spiritual master, can understand and clearly saw that the modern day, so-called modern day demons, it's not that the demons were just, we read that in the pages of the Bhagavatam, and this happened thousands and millions of years ago, but now everyone, we have a type of equality, Everyone's dressed in a suit and tie and this and that. But where demons, those are looking like Satan with big horns and like ugly features and shape-shifting monsters. But that was in the past. And really, maybe it's just mythology. But hear how the demons have come in this age. And Prabhupada said our number one mission is to defeat these scientists and the whole mundane educational system. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that mundane education, which trains one up to just simply be a materialist, actually renders one no more better than a donkey. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he arrived on the 17th of September, 1965, in Boston, and he was there for one day. His prayers, prayer to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, is dated 18th September, 1965, on board Jaladuta, which was docked at the Commonwealth Pier, where a glorious festival was just held, and a boat was launched from the Commonwealth Pier and went around the Boston Harbor, seeing very clearly the same Boston skyline, maybe a few new buildings that Srila Prabhupada saw 60 years ago. And Prabhupada seeing the mystic illusions created by the yakshas, by the people of Boston, he could get a sense of how the modes of material nature were creating these illusions and entrapping the people. And in utter humility and complete dependence and love for his beloved Lord, begged to be able to be used as an instrument in his hands, a puppet in the Lord's hands to dance as the Lord wishes him to dance. It's very interesting that Prabhupada would use that imagery of dancing, chanting and dancing in the Lord's Sankirtan movement. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and their associates would perform Nagar Kirtan, chanting and dancing. And indeed, Lord Chaitanya, his dancing is the most profound, beautiful, and glorious things. It is said that Lord Nityananda will always appear or cannot not appear in a place where Lord Chaitanya is dancing. So as the representative of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada is using this analogy, please make me dance. Of course, Prabhupada danced sometimes in kirtan, but his dancing was preaching Krishna consciousness, translating the appropriate topmost Vaishnava literatures like the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in beginning, chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The very next suitable, let's say, glorious Vaishnava observance for us as the direct followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, is coming, what is today, the 16th, 14 plus 9, 23 days. Who's good with immediate mathematicians? 23 days from the 16th of September would equal what? Oh, did I guess it wrong? I'm saying October 9th. 13 plus 9 is, you're 22 days.
October 9th is 23 days.
Okay, 23 days. Very good. And actually, as we're planning for our ISKCON 60, New York 50, ISKCON New York City Incorporation 50, Rath Yatra 60, Rath Yatra 50, 2026. So we should tried to make a very grand 60th anniversary, October 9th, which is a Friday next year, celebration for the first chanting of Hare Krishna, successfully done by the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada outside of India and the Holy Dham, thus spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Dear Dhruva, O son of King Uttanapad, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Saranga Danva, one who bears the bow called Saranga, who relieves the distress of his devotees, kill all your threatening enemies. The holy name of the Lord is so powerful, is as the Lord himself. Therefore, simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can be fully protected from fierce death without difficulty. Thus, a devotee is saved. The great rishis approached Dhruva Maharaj at a time when his mind was very perplexed. Prabhupada writes in one purport, the demons are so numerous that sometimes we are perplexed on how we will put forward this Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada writes this in the beginning chapters of the 10th canto, where Kamsa is imprisoning his sister and brother-in-law, and so many heinous things are taking place. A devotee is protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his inspiration only, the sages came to encourage Dhruva Maharaj and assure him that there was no danger because it was a soul fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord. By the grace of the Lord, if a devotee at the time of death, which is the ultimate time in our life, the most important time, the end of life, can simply chant his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting this Maha Mantra, he immediately surpasses the great ocean of the material sky and enters the spiritual sky. He never has to come back. Interesting, never has to come back. If you do come back, it's by your own choice. And for what purpose? Only to spread and preach Krishna consciousness. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he came to this world already a great, otherworldly, supramundane, transcendental, glorious personality. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can surpass the ocean of death, as Dhruva Maharaj was certainly able to surpass the illusory, magical feats of the yakshas, which for the time being disturbed his mind. There's that statement at the end of the chapter, it will not be possible to assist you, Planting the Seed, Volume 2, Prabhupada Leelamrita, when all of his so-called supporters, godbrothers, wealthy persons, persons in Indian government, all withdrew in silence, not responding to his letters, asking for help to acquire a small 3-story, at the time, now it's 4-story, storefront building in the heart of the Upper West Side Business District, 100 West 72nd Street. Again, I say or suggest somehow or another that building should be gotten as a glorious service to His Divine Grace, who wanted that building in 1960, in the winter of 1965, 1966. Seeing him from a distance, a small figure like so many others wandering Manhattan streets. These times of struggle were real enough for Srila Prabhupada, but his determination and dedication were as strong as ever. But at this time, from an ordinary analysis, it was not at all clear, or it didn't look like people in New York City were going to take it all seriously that a pure devotee of the Lord was in their midst. My dear Vidura, when Dhruv Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed Achman by touching water and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayan and fixed it upon his bow. One very great purpose and result of putting on a big festival, a devotee festival, it's not only just preaching wide scale to the public, as in the case of Rath Yatra. The festival just now in Boston was a devotee festival. Devotees coming, renting a very beautiful and architecturally famous and noteworthy hall in MIT. Even to date, it's taken as a very wonderful architectural, beautiful monument, and what to speak of when it was created in the mid-1950s. Speaking, kirtan, and then the boat ride. But what we're planning to do next year is Rath Yatra is our greatest single-day preaching offering. So much energy, so much money, so much coordination is involved. Is that Rath Yatra, created by Srila Prabhupada, is so wonderful that it is a great preaching opportunity, and at the same time, it is a great fortification of the faith for the devotees, individually and collectively. Faith in their own choice in taking to devotional life, to spiritual life. Prabhupada is saying in the first canto, to take the spiritual life is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy, who tries to entrap the candidate by various means. Of course, the inner purpose of the illusory energy of Maya in relationship to the devotee is not so much to fulfill their material desire, but to test the devotee, to make sure that they are properly sincere and serious, so when and if they go back home, back to Godhead, they don't create a disturbance in the spiritual world. There's no demoniac influence in the spiritual world. So Krishna and his pure devotees can enjoy completely safe, with no risk or threat. Just like we take security here, very important. Of all the things that we offer to Sri Sri Radha Govinda, the most important thing that we must offer them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, for all and forever, is security. And that is a reflection or a emanation from the spiritual world, where there is no threat whatsoever. We see when the four Kumaras encountered Jai and Vijay, the two doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, and were refused entry, they said, "Who are these you have a mentality that is in discord with the spiritual world. You don't belong here. You should go down to the material world, where the living entities are under the influence of 6 demons, 6 problems: lust, greed, anger, envy, illusion, madness, intoxication. You're in the wrong place. So the sadhu sangananda, the ecstasy of association with devotees, it is very, very enlivening and fortifying. What is it? Satam 3:25-25. The association of devotees. What is? Help me with the English translation. You can find that real quick. And now he fixed it upon his bow to finish the illusory atmosphere created by the yakshas. Go ahead.
In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin.
Right. And so Prabhupada, the first mass ISKCON devotee festival, and there was only one place where this took place in the early years, was San Francisco, Rath Yatra. And devotees came from all over. And of course, His Grace Madhu Dwees Prabhu was put in charge and had this massive Rath Yatra. You can look at the footage. I think it's in volume 2 of the 11 following Srila Prabhupada. You can find on YouTube or the DVD series. And they served a feast for 10,000 people. You have Gaur Hari Prabhu saying, I was put in charge of the feast, and there was no question of how are we going to do this? We just get on with it. And we were young, and we were so believing in the imminent spreading of Krishna consciousness to the point where it would take over the world. And we were being empowered by Srila Prabhupada. We could move mountains. We had whole truckloads of watermelons donated, and we had so many, we ultimately were just giving people whole watermelons. And Prabhupada on the stage there at Family Dog Auditorium was just so enlivened. He said, chant, dance, and take prasad. Now chant and dance, and when you get tired, take more. The devotees were just so enlivened. And Madhu Dwees Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada how did he like the festival, and he gave Madhu Dwees this tremendous hug and embrace and rubbing his body and saying, I loved it. And Prabhupada went on to explain, why do we work so hard? Why does the Vaishnav work so hard to put on such a festival? And he said it is the Vaishnava's compassion. Because we're showing people what the ultimate happiness is in the spiritual world. Every day a festival. There's one in one of the pastimes in the Bhagavatam, the Lord came, and then he's returning to the spiritual world, where it is described by Shukadeva Goswami, where every day is a festival. Prabhupada is knocking the work for sense gratification, saying, is Krishna going to work in the office? Does he come back and the gopis are saying, okay, Krishna, give us the money. Show us what's inside your pockets. It is simply enjoyment. Prabhupada's godbrother, I believe, from Germany, Sadananda, later became a sannyasi. He joined seeing different Murtis or deities of demigods and avatars, and everyone was doing something, some like heavy activity, some work. And when he sees Krishna simply beautiful, like a young ballet dancer in dancing pose, playing on a flute, you can understand this is God, because he is simply enjoying. So this is what Krishna wants for each and every one of us. But in this material world, the devotees struggle, seemingly like everyone else. No pain, no gain. That is non-different than the ultimate pleasure of the spiritual world. So that is why, as far as possible, the direct chanting and dancing of the Sankirtan movement, the Vidyavadu Jivanam, the life and soul of all transcendental knowledge, is put on public display as much as possible. Ultimately means every day for people to see. And in the early days of the Krishna consciousness movement, that was the number one way that people would join. I was just speaking with Shrutakirti Prabhu in Boston. He said, that's how I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, seeing the ecstatic chanting and dancing of the devotees. It cuts through all the illusory tricks of the materialistic idea that this is you will be happy. Prabhupada at the 1974 San Francisco Rath Yatra. It was cold that day, and Prabhupada was wearing a beautiful white cardigan sweater, and he's speaking, I'm in ecstasy. I'm traveling all over the world, and people are imitating America, building skyscraper buildings. So I kindly request you, if you chant and dance in emotional love of God, the whole world will follow you. There'll be no more trouble. Thank you very much. And Prabhupada's idea to bring American and European, when a pandal was arranged in Jaipur, and it was the same pandal where Shri Radha Govinda presided, January 1972. In the beginning, the advertisement arranged by his disciples, Swami Bhaktivedanta with his foreign disciples. You know, you're in India or any country, foreign could be anywhere. But Prabhupada said it must say American and European. People want that standard of life. Big buildings, you know. Prabhupada would say in America, at least 50 years ago, you need money, you can just go out and just work for a few hours and you have $20, $50, no problem. The money is just flying in the street. You just have to go out with your hand and grab it. Actually, there's a story of the 518 Frederick Street Temple that they were late on paying the rent for 3 months. I believe this was after Prabhupada had initially been there to start the temple. Shyamasundar describes this in his Chasing Rhinos trilogy, that practically that day, if we hadn't come up with the money that we were, so myself and Malati were coming from our apartment and going at 6 o'clock in the morning to the temple, and out of nowhere, there was dozens and dozens of $100 bills just floating down from the sky. And you know what? There was nobody there but us. So we gathered up all this money. Thank you, Krishna. What term did they use? Krishna's miracle. Krishna's magic. Krishna's magic. That's right. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us a nice weapon for this age, as stated in the Bhagavatam, Sango Pangastra. In this age, the Narayan Astra, or weapon, to drive away Maya. So if we help to drive away Maya for the general public, it's very safe to assume that Krishna, in reciprocation, will drive away the Maya that's bewildering us. Srila Prabhupada writes, you say you have many stumbling blocks, but what are those stumbling blocks? With one kick of my boot, I can kick away these stumbling blocks. And how do we appeal or win over the spiritual master to remove our obstacles? By taking up his mission. In pursuance of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, such as Advaita Prabhu, Nityananda, Gadadhar, and Srivas. So this wonderful verse, Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam, Sango Pangastya Parshadam, Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer, Yajanti Hi Sumeda Saha, is in the chapter 5 of the 11th canto. Narada's teachings to Vasudeva, but Narada is bringing forth, at that time, even 5,000 years ago, a very long ago conversation between the Nava Yogendras and a great king, Maharaj Nimi. And in this section, the different yugas are explained, the condition, the lifespan, the religious function of that age, the avatar of that age. In this age of Kali, intelligent persons, so as it's saying in today's verse, these mystic illusions can bewilder the less intelligent. What's better, to be less intelligent or intelligent or more intelligent? Who could say? You can't say? Okay, I'll say. To be more intelligent. Intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna, although his complexion is not blackish. He is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. And of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in establishing the position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the beginning chapters of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 3, the external reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, verse number 42, and most appropriately and gloriously, Srila Prabhupada's disciples who rendered this 11th canto chose to write Srila Prabhupada's beautiful and elaborate purport to this verse directly from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and make it the purport to this important verse here in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us conclude today's discussion by taking a little bit of a look here at this purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this verse in his commentary, known as Krama Sandarbha, wherein he says the Lord Krishna also appears with a golden complexion. That golden Lord Krishna is Lord Chaitanya, who is worshipped by, here we go again, intelligent men in this age. So we should keep this in mind. Krishna consciousness, Lord Chaitanya, Sankirtan movement, spreading Krishna consciousness. This is for intelligent people, or intelligent people will take to the Sankirtan movement, will surrender to Krishna, will preach Krishna consciousness. Or this is the definition of one who is intelligent, one who will do this. Please keep this in mind. That is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Gargamuni, who said that although the child Krishna was blackish, this is in the name-giving ceremony, Krishna and Balaram, what is that, chapter 8 of the 10th canto. He also appears in 3 other colors, red, white, and yellow. He exhibited his white and red complexions in Satya and Treta. He did not exhibit the remaining color, yellow gold, until he appeared as Lord Chaitanya, was known as Gaur Hari. Srila Jiva Goswami further explains, Krishna Varna means Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam and Krishna Chaitanya are equivalent. The name Krishna appears with both Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Krishna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he always engages in describing Krishna and thus enjoying transcendental bliss by chanting and remembering his name and form. Lord Krishna himself appears as Lord Chaitanya to preach the highest gospel. Varnayati means utters or describes. Lord Chaitanya always chants the holy name of Krishna and describes it also. And because he is Krishna himself, whoever meets him will automatically chant the holy name of Krishna and later describe it to others. We see how Srila Prabhupada, anyone who saw him, would immediately be so many things, completely transformed. And what to speak of those who are, but as it is described, by the grace of Krishna, one gets guru. Krishna arranged for worthy personalities to come into Prabhupada's presence and immediately could understand, this is my spiritual master. And even those who met the devotees and were told about Srila Prabhupada by those devotees, if there was any reservation or doubt in their mind, when they met Srila Prabhupada, they could understand. So this is someone who is directly representing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He injects one with transcendental Krishna consciousness, which merges the chanter in transcendental bliss in all respects. Therefore, he appears before everyone as Krishna, either by personality or by sound. Simply by seeing Lord Chaitanya, one at once remembers Lord Krishna. One may therefore accept him as Vishnu Tattva. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So we're describing the weapon that's been nicely given to us. Sango Pangastra Parshanam further indicates that Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. What is that? They say, kill them with kindness. His body is always decorated with sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all the people of the age. Rukmini Mataji, in her speaking on the boat in the festival, brought forth the dream of Hayagriva Prabhu. Prabhupada took his early New York devotees in the summer of 1966 to Dr. Mishra's upstate Monroe, New York. That is off Route 17, kind of near where we used to have Lake Huntington, Sullivan County. A very idyllic, multi-acred, beautiful pastoral place. There was a lake there. And that night, Hayagriva had a dream that a beautiful golden youth was emanating ecstatic love of Godhead, and many of his disciples were chanting and dancing in very profound ecstatic love of Godhead all around him in the most unbelievable mind and heart attracting kirtan. And he could understand that personality was Srila Prabhupada. And he woke up completely like transformed and just in a state of amazement. And he told Srila Prabhupada, and in the dream, he goes and he questions Srila Prabhupada, why did you not appear to us like this? And Prabhupada said, because you would follow me for my beauty and not for my teachings. We see in this material world that everyone is bewildered and think that someone is very, very beautiful, that they're worthy of all our attention, and we should gaze upon them and worship them and just be just like a devotee. Anything that Krishna or the pure devotee does, the disciple and devotee wants to hear about it. Just like we want to hear everything about Srila Prabhupada. Unlimited books can be written about Prabhupada's pastimes, his whole life, and especially the 11, 12 years that he was manifesting the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We urge devotees who had his association to write their memoir, write their book, every single detail. And what to speak of subsequent followers of his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, those who even never met him, how they came to Krishna consciousness, how they were transformed, even though they never physically met. This is wonderful to hear. So the perversion of this, someone who's beautiful, someone who's rich, has some aspect of the Sadaishvarya Purna, the unlimited opulences that emanate from Krishna in fullness, wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, fame, reputation, etc., etc. So Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna himself, by his super excellent beauty, subdues all the people of the age. In other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac, but in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive feature as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ultimately, the supreme beauty of the Lord and his devotees are non-different than their teachings. At the conclusion of the latter chapters of the Madhya Lila, Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami brings forth the verse, all glories to Sanatana Goswami, who accepted the youthful goddess of renunciation. Wow. So in other words, the giving up of material life by the Vaishnava, by the Vaishnav sannyasi, the renounced order of life, is the most beautiful thing. That is why it is so praiseworthy. Ultimately, taking shelter under the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. In other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac, but in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive feature as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra, or weapon, to subdue the demons. Because he is all attractive, it is to be understood that all the demigods lived with him and his companions. His acts were uncommon and his associates wonderful. When he propagated the Sankirtan movement, he attracted many great scholars, the most intelligent, and acharyas, especially in Bengal and Orissa. Lord Chaitanya is also accompanied by his best associates like Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas. To worship Lord Chaitanya, everyone should together chant the Maha Mantra. To propagate worship in churches, temples, or mosques is not possible because people have lost interest in that. But anywhere and everywhere, people can chant Hare Krishna. Thus, worshiping Lord Chaitanya, they can perform the highest activity and fulfill the highest religious purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has said, the principle of transcendental devotional service having been lost, Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared to deliver again the process of devotion. He is so kind that he is distributing love of Krishna. Everyone should be attracted more and more to his lotus feet as humming bees are attracted to a lotus flower. He is equiposed and peaceful. He is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the the impersonalist non-devotees. Sandhyamana etasmin maya guyaka nimita shipram vinor vidura vinishor vidura klesha jano deyayata. As soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayan Astra bow to his arrow, to his bow, the illusion created by the yakshas was immediately vanquished, just as the material pains and pleasures, all material pain, are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishi Radha Govinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
No questions?
Well, we went over time. It's 9:02. If you ask a question, then...
The question is, why isn't everyone chanting Hare Krishna? That's just a rhetorical question. No need for an answer.
Why is not everyone chanting Hare Krishna? This is the world to forget Krishna. And at the same time, it's a place to remember Krishna. So if, as I was saying, if we perform our duty and fulfill our responsibility to propagate the Yuga Dharma so people can see what the Yuga Dharma is, then they at least have the opportunity to choose to chant Hare Krishna or not. We're distributing books and we're preaching Krishna consciousness, and the goal of that is to ultimately convince people to become devotees, to convince people to chant Hare Krishna. So we have to perform the very important responsibility. We have to take the important responsibility of making the Sankirtan movement visible for people to see. Otherwise, in a sense, that will give a lot more credence and what's the word? Validity to our preaching. Otherwise, what is it like if just like we tried to get a product like a security thing you put in your wallet, and scammers can't scan your back pocket and take your information and drain your bank account. And it seemed like the thing didn't work, so we got scammed. So that was what's called false advertising. So, like it's saying here, people have lost interest in churches, temples, and mosques. After the 1974 San Francisco Rath Yatra, there's the video. Prabhupada appeared on a local newsstand and said, why is it that people are taking to the Eastern? Have they lost? Do you think that Christianity, failed them? Prabhupada said, I think so. Because we have to give the higher taste. Param Jistva Nivartante. Only by experiencing the higher taste can one give up the lower taste. And the priests and rabbis said, these were our boys. And they were never interested in going to the church or the temple. But now they're mad after God. How is that? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.